There's no such thing as a fact, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a fact. So I'm sat here today with a cup of tea, as I usually do, and it's been a long week, even though it's not over yet. I thought, why not share a bit of my week? A little viewpoint thrown out there. You might be interested. A different viewpoint to the one you see, a different world to the one you taste. And then I thought, why don't we take a little journey away from that as well? So that's what I'm going to try and do today. I'm going to tell you a little of the world that I've seen, and then one that I've never seen before. And I'm going to tell you a story. And maybe it'll take you somewhere else. I don't know myself yet because I haven't written it. There's no script, there's no plan, so forgive me if I ramble at times. But hopefully I'll take you away from your world for a minute. So what's been in the news this week? What's been in the real world? The world that they tell us is real. Now, we started off with North Korea. And incidentally, it's the 17th of April 2013 today. So mid-April, we were told to be afraid of Korea, North Korea in particular. Afraid of them because why? They haven't invaded anyone. They haven't attacked anyone. They've been surrounded by American forces, literally. American state-of-the-art military, ships, warplanes, ground troops in South Korea and all around other countries. And we're told to be afraid of them. And they'll show us pictures of missiles and tell us to be afraid. So the week started with people being afraid because they were told to be. Since then, of course, we've had some other incidents. We've had deaths with bombs. I'm sorry that the news to start with is bad, but isn't that news anyway, in this day and age? And the bombs weren't about the ones that exploded in Pakistan, or the ones that exploded in Iraq, the ones that killed many, many people. These bombs were the Boston bombs. Boston bomber. That's a very catchy name. And this person left a rucksack, allegedly with a bomb, near the finish line of the Boston Marathon. 3 people, I believe, have been killed. And that indeed is sad. In fact, it's worse than sad. It is deeply saddening, because it's a reflection upon our world. And if you'll forgive me, my view is that bombs in one place lead to bombs in another. It's a deep feeling that we share in the world. But today, they say they have found the person, they know who it was. And so the focus will go there. And as Mr. Obama said, they will feel the full weight of justice. Not of the law, but the full weight of justice. How is that even possible? Surely justice should be fair. Maybe I'm old-fashioned. Also this week, Iran had a huge earthquake. I think it was about 7.8 magnitude, relatively shallow. I think the largest earthquake there in 40 to 50 years. 1 or 2 people allegedly have been killed. Put those 2 pieces together and it doesn't make sense to me. Was it real? Did it happen? Any of those news events? Did any of those news events happen? Other reports show North Korea, the main square where the media shows the missiles, with children rollerblading. dancing. The Boston bomber, I've seen countless reports saying it was staged, it didn't happen, or whatever. The truth is we don't know. All we can go by are the things we're told. And then we have to make our own minds up. But do we believe what we're told? Or are we able to question? Are we allowed to question anymore? Margaret Thatcher was buried today in London at St. Paul's. Quite a prestigious place to be buried. The pictures show her coffin being taken up the steps outside the front of St. Paul's, with officials dressed in their robes on either side, forming, I noticed, a pyramid shape, where the entrance to St. Paul's was the apex. What are the chances of that, I thought. And for those who don't know, the pyramid is, of course, well, it's a phrase I don't like. The pyramid is a huge Illuminati symbol. Going into St. Paul's is quite another feature as they step over the Masonic black and white flooring. Black and white checkerboards, duality, day and night. So they took a coffin into St. Paul's. And the Queen was there. And I'm watching these pictures and thinking, I wonder how many people realise that the Queen doesn't belong there. It's a part of this country that she doesn't own. The City of London, a separate entity. Not a state, not a state in the usual state of affairs, but its own governing body, just as the centre of Rome and Washington DC are theirs. 3 key entities. 3. It's always 3. Have you noticed that? The Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost, the Trinity. 3 points to a pyramid. 3 pyramids. Makes me sigh a little bit. And later today I saw, or rather I heard, a radio station. It was LBC, London's broadcasting biggest conversation. There you go, London's biggest conversation. Free plug for you, LBC. I heard some of Ian Dale's chatting. And around 5:30 to 6 o'clock today, probably about 5:30 today on the 17th of April 2013 still. So if you want to go and check it out, you can. They were talking about what the media discusses, what it reports, and what it doesn't. He said one thing I liked, where he said simply, when was the last time you heard of a story from South America? We don't. There are so many stories of the world that we just don't hear. Perhaps that's one of the reasons that I do the regular Mindset podcast, to try and bring attention to these stories that the mainstream media, as it streams into our ears, that they just ignore. And it was curious because they talked about the bombing, as all the news stations do, and Mrs. Thatcher's demise, freedom of speech and all those things. And when they talked about the bombing, somebody phoned up and they got through, which was amazing, because when they got through they talked about rockets being shot from Israel into Palestine. That's quite unusual to hear that even on a news program, or any radio station, any station. And I can tell you as a fact, I know these things are rare because I've been cut off when I've called in to talk. And that's what happened to this guy today. He was speaking rationally, sensibly, And suddenly, when he mentioned Israel shooting rockets into Palestine, unfortunately his phone had a problem and he was cut off. No, I don't know. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe. Maybe that's what happened. So that's the world that we're told exists. And that's the one that we share. Or we feel we do. But let me try and take us on another one. So I hope you have got your shoes off at least, and you're resting. I've got a cup of tea, so I'm going to have a sip of that. And if I publish this, if I put it out into the world, and if I make any more, if you join me again, why don't you have a cup of tea as well? Or any drink, one that you like, one that you can savour, to be sipped. So, also this week, in another world, in my other world, I've taken a few pictures, a few photographs, and I thought I'd make a story from them. I don't know what the story's going to be yet. I'm going to pull from it many things that I've seen and experienced, and just make something up. And I hope that we can share another world for a little bit, another reality, to take you. Am I trying to take you or us? To take us somewhere else. So, if you are still with me, let's see what I can make up. And I'll share some pictures with you after I finish my rambling. So I think I'll begin my story with spring, with a beautiful yellow daffodil. The weather has been so cold. The winds from the east have chilled the bones of the old people, and even children have come in to play. But one solitary daffodil does not want to listen to the world. And so it grows. And it grows strong. And it breaks free of the grass. And its head tastes the air. And who are we to say that daffodils can't taste? Because when it's in the air, it sprouts. It opens its petals and it begs for attention. It says, "Look at me. I am a flower." I remember being told once that the true colour of flowers was ultraviolet, I think. The colour that insects see in is not the visible light. And so they are a colour to attract the insects to be pollinated. Now that's what science tells us. I say a daffodil is yellow. I say it is yellow, ultraviolet, infrared. It is all colour. And that's what it tells me when it opens its petals and screams to the world, because when I walk down a lane and there are greens and there are browns and it is cold and there is one single daffodil, it says, "Look at me." And so I did. And I stopped to take a picture of that daffodil. And I hope you like it. But then as we move on from the beauty, and there is beauty in everything, we see doors. We see doors because doors are everywhere. To doorways, to passages, to questions. Which door do you want to choose? Is it the door of the house on the left that's ornate and grand? Or is it the string of doors to the right, repeated, cheaper, and functional? Or maybe it's a door that's in your mind from when you were a child, a door that you never opened. It's always there, waiting. Well, the door that I chose, if I can say that, maybe I need another sip of tea. The door that I chose was a red door, as you might expect, because as they say, I took the red pill. And it was a door of a burger bar, or a fast food restaurant chain. Not even a chain. It's a little bit tatty, in fact. The red paint's peeling, and underneath on one area you can see blue, if you look hard enough. The red bloods, the blue bloods, all in the same door. And it's an interesting door because it has mesh in the window. It's afraid that someone will smash its glass. And I wonder what's behind that door. I think there might be a clue. If you look at the picture, you'll see a number a little higher. 101. And for those who don't know, that's a special number. It's a number that George Orwell once wrote about. In the book Big Brother, he talks of a room that holds horrors, will hold your greatest nightmare. Whatever that nightmare is behind that door of room 101. And so, it's curious to me that I fell from the beauty of the flower to the nightmare of the door. Both bright, both shouting, both wanting to open and be seen. So which would I choose? Would I choose to stand and stare at the flower, or to open the door and confront not only my fears but the unknown? Which would you choose? Which would you choose? It's not an easy answer, is it? I think at some point we all need to open those doors. I know we'd like to look at the flowers, but what's behind that door? It's only a mirror. It's a mirror of who we are, and the fears in that mirror. They need to be seen. Some people were afraid this week. They were people who disagreed with the expense of Margaret Thatcher's death. We know they were afraid because the papers told us that they should be afraid. In fact, if there were any anarchists And that's an interesting word to start with. An anarchist, for those who don't know, is not somebody who wants chaos. They desire a different system. They are not the people who are persecuted in the press. Or are they? Maybe the anarchists are. Who is one? I don't know. Labels. That's what it is. It's all about labels. But anarchists plotting to disrupt Lady Thatcher's ceremonial funeral face arrests in preemptive strikes by Scotland Yard. That's what the paper told me this week. If police have reasonable grounds to believe crimes are about to be committed, they are justified in making arrests, say legal experts. Legal experts. Bless them. If it wasn't for the expert, how would we know there was a problem? That's a little tribute to Laurie Anderson there. Makes me smile because preemptive arrests, pre-crime. That's also what Orwell would have talked about. So there I am walking down the street, down the lane, seeing the flowers, when the door to room 101 stands in front of me. And not long before that, I'd seen a paper where they've talked of preemptive crime and arrests. But it's a little different to before because, well, that cold wind, it's gone. I stood outside the room to my nightmares, but it doesn't seem cold anymore. In fact, there's a blue sky above me now. Beautiful blue sky. And the sun is hitting me, covering me. Now I don't know which or if any god you worship. But if there is a sun god, I tell you, you can feel his warmth. And it's a wonderful feeling. It's like seeing the first daffodil of spring. It's a feeling of life, which is odd when you're stood in front of the door to your nightmares. Well, it's odd, of course, until you look up at that sky. And when you do, you'll see that it's scratched, like a mirror, where someone's taken a coin and scratched across its surface. And it's scratched with white lines, not clouds, not contrails. The white lines that they call chemtrails. Now I don't know what a chemtrail is. I really don't. And I've heard probably all the stories of what they could be. But I don't know what it is. But I do know how it makes me feel. Because I see that sky, the beautiful blue, warming sky. And then I see these lines, and they begin to cover the sky, and they do cover it. First of all, a few lines, 1, 2, thinly across the sky, up into the heavens. And then those lines will get thicker, and gradually the blue will disappear. So when people tell you what they are, don't believe them. People who tell you they're full of barium, aluminum, full of all sorts of things. I'll tell you what they are. I'll tell you what they really are. There's somebody scratching at the sky. Now the question is, of course, are they scratching to get in or scratching to get out? I think they're trying to get out. But they're definitely scratching, and the lines appear above my head, and the beautiful blue sky that was slowly disappears. And so I'm left there with a haze and a mist, and the sun is setting, and the flowers begin to hide for the night, and I feel it's cold again. And inside that room in front of me, through the window with wire in its glass, I can see what I'm afraid of. Should I open the door? Would you open that door? Really, would you? If you open it, you're going to have to step inside. And if what you see is real, it could change you. And if you turned around and looked back out, maybe the world's not there anymore. Maybe the people you know wouldn't be there. Maybe the flowers would be gone. Would you open that door? Well, I did. I thought, what the heck? It was a nice day. I might as well see what's behind the door. Might as well taste it. Taste it like the flower tasted the air. The flower doesn't know about the cold winds yet. It doesn't know so much, and yet it still grows. It still pushes above the grass. So I look in. But before I open that door, I look around me. I want to take one last look at the world that I know, one that I believe to be solid, that gives me sense of foundation. It's a little dull outside. The traffic is racing past. A water mains has burst down the road, and there are diversions. The drivers in their cars slow down. And then I realize they're not racing past. They're hardly moving. In fact, the streets are clogged full of traffic, with people racing to go nowhere. On the other side of the road, there's an old man. A very, very old man. And he has a walking stick, which he carries. It's a little like helping an old lady across the road. He's helping the walking stick, because a walking stick surely needs to walk. And he's not racing, but he's whizzing past that traffic. He's moving faster than those cars. And he's getting somewhere. He really is. But then he's gone. And I'm just left with the traffic. The noises of the traffic, the fumes, the anxiety, the people needing to be somewhere, the people jumping queues and trying to push in so they can get to where they need to be 5 minutes before it's too late. But they're all there still, and the old man's left them. And I'll do the same. So I open that door and I walk through, and my feet sound different upon the new floor. There's no horror there waiting for me, nothing to leap out and bite me. I'm not afraid of monsters. So what is my nightmare today? What does await me? What awaits us all? Well, it has to be something that I've taken a picture of this week. It has to be something real. It has to be something I can taste. And like all good tricks, you can't always see the magic. You can't see how the magic is done. Not unless you go behind the curtain. And to do that, you have to close the door as well. So I do. Would you? Would you close your door after you stepped into room 101? Into the room of your nightmares? The door isn't heavy, it isn't light, it's hinged well, and it just clicks shut. Click. It's such a simple, light lock. But somehow I've got a feeling that if I took a sledgehammer to that door, I couldn't open it again. I'll take one sip of tea before looking into the room for good. I make sure my eyes are open because I want to see. I want to see the monsters that chase me. I wonder if they'll have teeth like sharks, or when they bite, one road disappears and another just takes its place. Or I wonder if they'll be dressed like clowns, scary clowns that scare you when you're a child. Or maybe it'll be a great big cliff that I'm standing on with no way out, and I have to jump across to another ledge. Or maybe it'll be dark and there won't be another ledge, and dare I move in the darkness? Or maybe it'll be one of those terrors that is so terrifying because it feels so real, where someone you know, a loved one, is being hurt or in danger and you can't help them. Or maybe I'll be in a dentist and they're drilling and I'm strapped to the chair. The point is, whatever I see is going to be personal to me, and it's going to be a nightmare for me. But they're funny things, nightmares. The real Room 101 is nothing to do with dentists. So I'm going to look into it now. And I'm going to show you what I see. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful view. There's a road that stretches out before me. There are hills in the distance and trees. And that blue sky again. The clouds in the sky are natural. There's no scratching of a glass ceiling. There's water on the road, fresh water. It feels lush and endless. It feels peaceful. And that's my terror. That's my terror this week. Can you see why that's my terror? Can you see the fear in my eyes? I've got to walk down that road now I've seen it. I've got to keep walking down that road. I can't turn off it. There's no junction. And if I turn back, then I will never know where that road will have taken me. Because that road is hope. It represents my journey, my path. Now I don't know what you would have seen in that room. But it seems what I saw was a long walk. An endless walk. And the mind plays tricks because there really is only the moment. And so the future is just a place for anxiety. And the past is a place full of regret. But in the moment, neither of those two things exist. So in the moment, I'm going to breathe while I'm on that road. And I'm going to let it walk under my feet. I'm going to feel that sun on my face. And I'm going to walk towards the monsters with my eyes open. So, Mr. Orwell, your Room 101. Thank you for its beauty. And that, dear listeners, whoever you may be, wherever you may be, that's my story for today. I hope that's taken you out of your world a little bit. Just a little. Well, I'm going to go and make a fresh cup of tea. And maybe I'll see you on this road again. Thank you for listening. Bye for now.